Hello everyone and welcome. Do you need a copy of the Ontario Building Code? Great, you're in the right place, because in this video, I will show you all the different ways that you can get a copy of the latest edition of the Ontario Building Code. I'm going to cover hard copies, so paper copies like my two volume binder. I will cover digital copies, paid copies, free copies, even some apps. I want to thank Sold My Gold to Devil for posting the comment that inspired this video. In that comment, they ask for information about where to buy the Ontario Building Code. Furthermore, this person writes that they are in Toronto. Now, before we jump into this video, I want to note that this video is valid for the date that it was posted, so in or about mid-December 2022. It is possible that if and when a new version of the Ontario Building Code comes out, some of my recommendation may no longer be valid. Now, let's get started. I will provide you with many options for obtaining the latest edition of the Ontario Building Code. I'm gonna give you options for paid versions, for free versions. I'll provide you options for paper versions, for digital versions. The option that will work best for you will depend on why you need a copy of the Ontario Building Code. I will try to be as clear as possible about the differences between all of these options. That way you can make the best decision for you. Let's start with free versus paid options. Yes, I've said it. You can get free copies of the Ontario Building Code, and these free copies are 100% legitimate and 100% legal. Let me explain some more. You might be wondering, well, if there are legal free versions of the Ontario Building Code, why would anyone ever pay for a copy of the Ontario Building Code? Well, this has to do, one, with the reason you're going to be using the building code, and two, with the format of the free versions of the Ontario Building Code. You see, first of all free versions of the Ontario Building Code are digital versions. Back to why you would pay for the Ontario Building Code. Simply put, you would pay for a copy of the Ontario Building Code because using a free option is not allowed to you. I'm going to give you two examples, but there are many. Number one, if you sign up to write a building code exam, you must use the latest version of the Ontario Building Code, and that version must be a hard copy. Example number two, if you're using the Ontario Building Code to offer professional services, you must pay for it. Especially if you are a member of a licensed organization, say like you're a professional engineer or a licensed architect, technician, technologist, or registered building practitioner, etc., etc. Again, you would pay for a copy of the Ontario Building Code because you're not allowed to use the free version. Now, let me tell you about the free options that are available to you. Let's start with my personal favorite. The province of Ontario allows you to request a digital copy of the latest edition of the Ontario Building Code for personal use. You can order an official version in PDF format for free. I swear it's true. Just go to this link, which I'm also going to put for you in the description of the video below, and order your very own copy. Once you get to this page, you're going to scroll through it and you're going to notice that there's a place where to request. It's a big blue button. You fill in all the relevant information and click submit. Then within 2 or 3 days, you will receive 2 PDF documents by email, one for each volume of the Building Code Compendium. These are high quality versions of the hard copy and they are in PDF format. Please note that you cannot use these documents for commercial purposes like running a business or offering design services to the public. It's meant for personal use, and you must acknowledge this when you request them. There is also a drawback to this source, and it is that it's up to you to check that it's the latest version of the building code. New versions may be uploaded regularly, but it's up to you to go back and check to make sure you have the latest version. If you are in a rush and you cannot wait to receive the PDF version of both volumes of the Ontario Building Code Compendium, you can reach volume 1 of the compendium online as long as you have a web browser and a reliable internet connection. You're going to find it at this link, and I'm going to link it for you in the description at the bottom as well. As you see, it's a web page under the Province of Ontario e-laws pages, and it contains everything in volume 1 of the Ontario Building Code Compendium. This source, you can see it's a bit cumbersome to navigate. It's one long web page, but it is better than nothing, especially if you're in a rush, and it is 100% free. Also, unlike the PDF version that you will receive by email, this browser version is always up to date, as you can see here. Furthermore, this is another great thing. If you choose to, you can also download it to your device of choice as a Word document. However, if you do that and only use the Word document, you have to regularly go check to make sure it is the latest version. Finally, I have come across 2 apps which offer the Ontario Building Code in electronic format for free. Both of these apps are legitimate, and they offer the benefit of always being up to date. These apps are Code Savvy and Tracks Codes. Now, this is super important. I'm not being paid by either app to mention them. I just thought that both apps worked really well and that they would be worthwhile for me to mention them for you. They have their place. Also, this video is not a review of these apps, so I'm going to leave it up to you to pick the one that works best for you. Both apps, to me, seem to offer a very sleek interface. The search function worked well. The bookmarking functions work really well. And they're great because they allow you to have the Ontario Building Code literally in the palm of your hands. They also include free versions, sometimes as a trial. I've found that the people behind both of these apps are very responsive and forthcoming with answering questions. Both of these apps, the people behind them, offered to give me tours, virtual tours, of how to use their products. Although, I have to admit that both apps are set up quite well, and a tour really wasn't needed. Like, I was able to figure out on my own. It took maybe 5 minutes at most. I will add links to both apps in the description, but again, please, I'm not being paid for this. I just figured that you deserve to know other options that were available there. Depending on the version of the app you choose, there will be a price associated with it, so do your due diligence. I found that the free versions, for me, worked really well. And they're always up to date. It is now time to move on to the paid options. As I mentioned previously, you would pay for a copy of the Ontario Building Code because you're not allowed to use the free versions. So while I'm covering all the paid options, I'm going to put for you up here somewhere in the corner a spinning coin, so you know that as long as there is a spinning coin somewhere here, I'm talking about paid versions of the Ontario Building Code. So let's go back to the 2 apps I mentioned previously. Both of them offer a subscription service either on a monthly or yearly basis, and they allow you access to the digital version of the Ontario Building Code that is always up to date. Ask lots of questions, do lots of research, and then choose the best option for you. Let's now talk about paper copies. You know, hard copies like the one I'm showing you right now. One of the benefits of paper copies is that you can write notes in them, you can highlight them, you can put tabs in them and sticky notes and whatever else you want. Also, because the pages can be taken out, you can rearrange various portions of the code in whatever order makes sense to you. However, they are very cumbersome and heavy. They take up a lot of space, and it is up to you to replace all the necessary pages every time an amendment is issued. The right first place to start when choosing to order a hard copy of the Ontario Building Code Compendium is Ontario Publications. Ontario Publications is the official publisher of provincial documents in the province of Ontario. You can reach them at this URL, and I'm going to link it for you in the description of this video as well. Once you're on this site, you will find an option to buy the 2-volume set of either the 7-ring binder, like the one that I have, or the 2-volume set of the soft cover. The soft cover one is typically out of stock because it costs less, but I recommend the 7-ring binder, mostly because it's easier to get pages in and out if you need to. You should be able to purchase also a copy of the Ontario Building Code at various Service Ontario kiosk locations throughout Ontario, but for now, especially after COVID, assume that's not the case just to be on the safe side. Second place where to order or get a hard copy of the Ontario Building Code is Orderline. Orderline is a company out of Toronto that provides codes and standards for professionals in the construction industry. You can reach them at this URL, also linked for you in the description of the video. Once you get there, you can look up Ontario Building Code Compendium or something similar, and you can order the 2-volume binder for it. Shipping is usually quite quick, and it will be to your door. The third location, the third way that you can get a hard copy of the Ontario Building Code is through your local college and their bookstore. Many colleges in Ontario offer courses about the Ontario Building Code. So that means that the bookstore for those colleges are also going to stock copies of the Ontario Building Code Compendium. If you're close to any of these colleges, consider either picking up a copy from their bookstore or having them shipped to you. This is how I would do it. I would open my browser of choice, and in my search engine, I would look up Ontario College Building Code. And then from there, I would probably pick the top return and follow it. In this case, it looks like it's George Brown. And then I would look up their bookstore and search for Building Code Compendium in it. And then follow the instructions to make arrangements to either go and pick it up or have it delivered. Simply do this for the college that's closest to you. And if you cannot find a Building Code Compendium at your local college, then typically George Brown always has them in stock to ship out. That's it. I hope this was helpful. Many thanks again to Sold My Gold to Devil for posting the comment that inspired this video. I've talked too much. Thank you so much for your attention. Thank you so much for your time. Have a lovely day and be well.